I've been talking a lot about unconstitutional liquor laws lately, but you'd be surprised at how restrictive trade laws for anything from labor to goods and services are in our country. And it all stems from restrictive interpretations of Section 121 of the Constitution, which states, all articles of the growth, produce, or manufacture of any one of the provinces shall, from and after the Union, be admitted free into each of the other provinces. What this originally meant was that free trade should be realized between provinces, but the section is now almost 150 years old, and the Fathers of Confederation couldn't have possibly predicted that there would be so many complications that come along with the specific wording. For example, it doesn't refer to trade and services, and it can be interpreted in several different ways, including as only applying to tariffs. But what's clear is that the section needs to be amended, and restrictions on inter-provincial and territorial trade simply aren't good for Canada. What's more is that agreements that are already in place internationally are more beneficial and come with less barriers than the ones in place in our own country. And the Standing Senate Committee on Banking, Trade and Commerce released a report that consulted with groups and individuals that confirms just as much. There are estimates that 40% of the total value of provincial and territorial exports are destined for other provinces and territories. And it's also been estimated that these trade barriers account for 50 to 130 billion of lost gross domestic product, according to a report referenced in the consultation. That's huge. And what's more is that our big overreaching government is limiting our choices, getting in the way of lower prices, and our fundamental right to purchase goods and services free of trade barriers. So let's talk about some of the more ridiculous rules out there just to show how outrageous trade barriers in Canada are. I've talked extensively about booze laws. Some provinces have limits for incoming liquor for personal use, but in other provinces, beer bottle, dairy creamers, and milk container sizes are different across jurisdictions. This means that multiple production lines have to be utilized, bracing companies with additional and unnecessary costs. There are also limits on the use of efficient tires, so truckers have to switch them out at the border. Unpasteurized cheeses can't be shipped outside of the borders of Quebec, and provincial, territorial, and federal standards are different for maple syrup grades. All of these things are causing issues when it comes to trade between provinces, and they're just totally unnecessary and impractical rules. And for the most part, the restrictions result in protectionist policies and benefit governments financially, like government liquor boards that make money from sales. But what the government should realize is that free trade is beneficial to them too. It increases competition and productivity and growth, which results in increased exports and has the potential to increase investments in the country, all of which result in more government revenue, at least in the way of business taxes. The Senate committee says that a renewed trade agreement on a previous agreement that was penned in 1995 was supposed to be finalized in March of 2016, and if no new agreements are reached by July 1st, that they will recommend the Supreme Court get involved in order to lift restrictions and change laws. This actually wouldn't be a bad thing, since it would take the decision-making out of the government's hands and change the way Canadians trade for good. For the Rebel.media, I'm Holly Nicholas.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.